Salvation has arrived for Mr. Umar's school, apparently. Hey, look, well, it could go both ways. It could either be salvation, where he can get it and keep it and maintain it the way he wants, or the enemy could get it. And I don't mean that we think the person's an enemy, although the person talking like he's an enemy, everybody, that's a certain shade. But for Umar especially, that particular person definitely is the enemy. That's what we're talking about. The individual you see on your screen before is a man by the name of Marquett Davon Burton, who has offered Umar a very interesting proposal. Now, if you remember the whole timeline of Dr. Umar's school demise, is that currently he owes quite a bit of money, somewhere in the region of 40K. And that 40K is to pay some taxes and some liens and all kinds of stuff that the government say he owe for the land and the school that he has on that land. Well, if he doesn't pay the money, it's going to go to auction and it could get sold off. So there is their definite timeline because he has to do it within the next couple of months or else. So hear me out. This individual has proposed something to Dr. Umar, and it will say a lot whether Dr. Umar takes it or doesn't. And it will mean a whole lot more if the other person that's looking into it takes it instead. I know it sounds a little convoluted, but first we're going to hear what the young man has to say to Mr. Umar. And then we'll hear what the other guy who happens to be, how did Dr. Umar, the devil, we're going to listen to what the devil has to offer. So we're going to back this up to about 26 seconds here so we can get his very beginning of where he starts off. And we could be completely right with everything. Okay, we don't want to mess with anything. Here we go.
Peace to the saints. If you'd be kind enough to confirm that the audio is coming from this microphone here. I want to talk to you today about a very sincere opportunity and effort to acquire all or part of the FDMG Academy.
Pause. I'm not quite sure what the relationship between this young man and Dr. Umar is. I want to make that abundantly clear. I don't know. I don't know that this young man, I've seen a few of his videos. I'm not fully vested in who he is as a podcaster or influencer. I do know that he espouses for family. I have heard him talk on behalf of men. He has spoken quite a bit with females who seem to want to push the feminist agenda. So I know that much about him. What I don't know is what his interest in the school would be, other than trying to save it for Black America so far. So I want to put that out there before we go any further. People thinking we know a whole lot about this young man. At least on the surface, we know enough. So let's hear what he has to say.
And this is something that I encourage you all to share with Dr. Umar, and I'll tell you why. My understanding right now, and I'll reference a video that gives some of the numbers, but my understanding right now is that Dr. Umar's school that he has raised millions for and perhaps allocated, actually spent maybe 1.5 million on, that it is in risk of being taken away essentially by the state, the government that is, and auctioned, which means that all of that money donated will have been thrown to waste. My sincere offer, and it's very clear that I can make this offer in sincerity and convert on it. My understanding is that Dr. Umar owes approximately 38,000 US dollars between utilities, back taxes, things like this. And in paying that bill, which is a manageable bill, he would be able to retain this real estate property.
Now, very well spoken, young man. I'm not saying he's young by the metrics of today's society. He's 20 years old, 30. I would, if I were a guessing man, and they say black don't crack. If I was a guessing man, probably mid 30s to early 40s, or at the most late 30s to late 40s. I'm going to give him an 8-year gap in between there. What I do know from watching his part, that he is probably more likely well off and he can afford to swing this if he does want to. The bigger question is, will it be taken? You see, Umar's in a very precarious situation. Here's the precarious situation. If, say, this man's political viewpoints and viewpoints about Black America does not align with Umar's, will that become a sticking point for Umar to take the money? But at the same time, Umar has been giving access to the school building and who builds it to somebody he already claims are the devil. So does he really have a leg to stand on where he can refuse this money? And if he does refuse the money, what does that mean for him really wanting the school to be built? I'm glad I'm not in that position to have that history I have with if I was Umar. That's all I'm saying.
the land and the school buildings. So my offer is to, pending, of course, an inspection, and this can all be private between Dr. Umar and I. The the inspection, the results of the inspection, the state of the actual buildings, all these things.
Now I see. Now hear me out. That's where I have an issue. I'm just going to state it. I may not have the right to have an issue, but the way it's been so public about what's been done and not done, but you still might expect people to invest. Now we're going to need to know all the details. We're going to need to. You have told us, Umar, and sir, with all due respect, Umar has told us what has been done in his purview, what's being done. He's been keeping us abreast. If the inspections somehow yield results that say that is not happening, we are going to need to know if people have given money, where that money went. Keeping the inspection results private, I don't know about all that one, man. Nah, I can't. I don't. Here's who I think won't go for that: the people who have given money. I don't think they're gonna go for that. You risk losing more people giving, unless of course you are willing to put the whole bill for the rest of the school to be built, which you might be willing to. I think you're gonna need more transparency than that, brother. Brother, you're gonna need transparency. I don't know about all that one.
Because I do acquire distressed assets. This is clearly a distressed asset, and I think that we can do something that'll both benefit potentially students that could learn there at the FDMG Academy. It'll certainly benefit the donors who want their dollars honored and not wasted. It will make sure that Dr. Umar is able to continue on the journey that he's on. And of course, there'll be something in it for me. As I said, it's a distressed asset. So essentially, what would happen is this. My sincere offer is I will write the check for, 40,000 or so, however many dollars it is. I'll write the check for $40,000 if you would allow me to just obviously tour the properties, and if they meet at least a reasonable condition upon visual inspection, then I'll send a proper inspector through to see what the true challenges are of the buildings. What is the actual quality of the HVAC, the electrical wiring, and all the things that are needed to get the buildings functional. And pending the inspector coming back to me with a report that doesn't have anything too egregious, meaning too costly, such that the actual value of the buildings would be less than $40,000, which I don't foresee being the case, I would then basically, and my understanding is he has a number of buildings, maybe in elementary, middle, and high school, is that I would basically do the following.
Now, before he goes any further about what he's going to do, um, the investment that this man is looking to put towards the school, of course, he's making all this sight unseen, and he's admitted that much. Um, if we were to go based on what Umar has told us, which is HVAC is done, that's what he said. Electrical is done, that's what he said. If that be the case, then the inspection should yield pretty good results. However, based on what they've said in terms of the city, I can't be sure that any of that stuff is actually even remotely partially done. You know what I'm saying? It's almost to get to the point of it being done, right? HVAC and electrical. There is one or two things that have to happen. One, certification that it is done. But two, for it to be done, the inspection would have already had to have taken place. Now, I'm just going based on the fact that you say it's done, Umar. Now, having been in the electrical field before, and participated in building certain buildings in terms of high value infrastructure like Microsoft and Yahoo. I can tell you this much. There are sign offs that the government have to do in phases for projects, especially the two that you mentioned, electrical and HVAC. Those are phased okayed locations. So, like you would go through and you'd do a portion, and the state would okay that much. An inspection would take place. They inspect multiple levels of it too. Termination, the wiring, how it's run, the type of wire that's run, all of this is part of their inspection. And if you say it's done, that should be logged as a finished, stamped, sealed, delivered portion of the building, which is why I don't believe Umar. That's just my thought. But again, who am I? I'm just a guy talking on your screen. But continue, please, Mr. Burton.
Whichever building is appraises best and is returned by the inspector to have a reasonable number of repairs needed to make the building functional and useful, I will take ownership of that building. So what I'm saying in short is that I will pay, pending an appraisal and pending a inspection of the property by a certified inspector. I will write the check to remove your utilities and tax burden, tax woes in exchange for control of one of those buildings.
Now, therein might be the kicker in the pants for Umar. That might be where that might be the sticker right there. Here's why I think it's a sticker. And this is only, listen, this is only going based on what Umar has presented us as his personality. Umar strikes us as the kind of person that likes credit. Okay. That brother looks like he likes to take credit. Now imagine someone walking up because you're inadequate to your task and tells you, I will fulfill some duties that you are unable to do by paying this off. But in exchange, your responsibility for the building is now mine, and it is now under my name. You no longer get credit for anything that is done to this building. Y'all really see Umar signing off on that? Do you think he would put the benefit of the school over him getting credit for coming up with the school? That's going to be the sticking point. Now, if the man said, I will pay the taxes past due, and all you got to do is put my name somewhere in there to say I helped, Umar might take that. But you want one of my buildings, brother? You said you want one of my buildings, brother? You said you want one of my buildings, brother. That's a lot. You testing that man's ego now. Woo-wee. Okay, continue.
The benefit for Dr. Umar is that he gets to retain the other buildings and continue on with whatever he was trying to do. Because right now, my understanding is that he's essentially pressed to acquire the capital quickly. And even if he were to raise it from his donors, which are probably shrinking in number of and frequency of and amount of, meaning amount that they're pledging, the frequency with which they pledge, and the number of persons pledging. So he needs quick capital, and quick capital has value. And if he would invite me over, I'll fly out to Delaware on my own penny, and I will inspect it visually. I'll immediately hire an inspector, get an appraiser in there, and then I'll write the check. And then, I'll have one of those buildings signed over to me. He gets to continue on with a significant amount of real estate that will continue to be in his name and at his disposal, and we'll both win, and he gets out of a tight situation. That is the proposal.
Now, prediction, I don't think he's going to bite it. I don't think he's going to take it. You're asking him to give up one of the buildings. If he does have three, indeed he does, if he does have three, you're taking away from his trifecta of, I'm not going to call it indoctrination. I'm going to call it his trifecta of influence. He wants to have a location where he has the black youth from young to sending him off into society. I understand Umar's thought process, I may not agree with his philosophy, but I do understand 100% what his goal is, because there are other schools that do exactly that. You get the child young and you can teach them what you would like them to learn from beginning to end. Awesome. But if you took the building, there's no guarantee that that's going to be something I can do there. Now I have to negotiate with you something, and then that causes a whole lot more issues. I don't know if he's going to buy it. I don't know. Maybe in your taking of the building, it might be that you're saying, I will still give you the freedom to do the school and have the schools in that building, but it's my building. Now it's a twofold thing. You're testing his plan and his ego. And I think his ego might win. Now his ego might win in rejecting the plan altogether. And I don't know what that's going to show for his people, but man, there's another offer on the table though, but not to Umar. And that offer on the table is a little bit more combative and angering. And this is this individual here. Now, I'm not sure whether or not this guy is being serious, facetious, trolling, or racist. If his plan is what he says it is, then he's racist. Um, if he's jesting about it, he might be a racist still, but might not be. So that's the iffy part. But if he's doing it just to sabotage for the sake of sabotaging it, then I'm gonna have to chalk it up to being a racist dude. Now, here was his proposal. Okay, here we go.
Dr. Umar Johnson's former school that he was going to turn into an academy over 10 years ago, and he raised $1.2 million. He bought the building for 400 grand, and I'm going to buy it for 300 grand because of all the back stuff and the neglect. It's actually worth a lot less than that. We're going to lowball him a little more. After that, we're going to knock that thing clear to the ground and just kind of make a mountain out of the rubble itself. We're going to throw dirt over that rubble. And then on top, we're going to get a black sculptor that's down on his luck, and he's going to create a massive toilet. And we're going to pay him. We're going to pay him good, and we're going to pay him cash. But he's going to sculpt a big, huge toilet. And then I'm going to have a bunch of Mexicans take a shit in the toilet for diversity. And that's what's going to sit there. And it's just kind of a symbol, to where all you dumbass.
Oh my goodness.
Now, that is what he had to say. Now, listening to this, he a racist. Let's just look, we can be frank, right? This dude, if that's the plan, he either high and a racist or just a racist that ain't high. However, the city has ordinances, and if that's his plan, if it's a real plan, it will not occur. One, you're talking about leaving a entire structure with fecal matter in it. The state will never approve that. That will come down just as fast as the buildings you tear down. As for leaving debris and covering with dirt, that's not how excavation works. They can't do that either. So none of his plan will ever go forward, because that's not how things work when you buy a piece of land. If you buy it and you raise it and it has to be cleared, and all debris and materials that are broken has to be taken off site and to a dump. You can't now just regurgitate it, flip it, and put it in a mound. And so on the surface, it's nonsensical. Now, could he be doing a satirical approach to Dr. Umar where he's just absolutely dogpiling on his bad luck and being an insultive human being for the sake of being? He could be doing that, yes. Yep. That doesn't make him any less racist? No, at all. Now, what would be the purpose of him trolling like that other than racism? None. The bona fide land is that he's a racist. Okay. Whoever this guy is, I can think we can say unequivocally, based on his statements and his plan, racist. The mere idea of it is not even to behoove Umar to do anything. It is simply to be what he's being right now. And that's kind of like the thing that he was going to put in the toilet. That's what he's being right now. Yeah, I won't say it, but you know what I mean. You heard him. He's going to put a certain element into the toilet that he's going to sculpt. And he just happened to hire a black dude that's down on his luck. The way he said it, no, he's a racist. So I don't think he's being serious about anything. He doesn't look like he possesses the kind of money to do that anyway, nor do I think he actually has any intentions of it. He's doing something to rage bait people to get the views, and to, that's what I genuinely believe based on what I've heard. Now back to Mr. Uh, Marquett now. If Umar does not take the bait, and he does believe this guy because he believes white devils and all that stuff, he's putting himself in a precarious situation. Because if he can't redeem himself before the deadline, he does risk this particular guy doing exactly that and then making a whole mockery of something that Umar is trying to make positive of. I'm not saying that Umar is doing anything positive. I like the mindset that he has. I do. I commend Umar for wanting to change the dynamic of Black education. I do. I don't care for his indoctrinative side of it, but his idea of trying to get quality education is a very commendable. Very commendable. This guy, trash bag. However, Umar is stuck in a tough place. You have to explain to people where the money went and why you don't have enough to cover this. Second, then you have to explain to people why you would take somebody who may not have the school's interest money in order to shut down one of the buildings that just goes against to what you actually want, and but you get out from under your issue. He's in a tough spot there. Or do you let it expire and allow a racist to do at the grounds what he's wanting to do? Now he could do it. It could be up for a few days. The state sees it and he has to take it down anyway. But he would have gotten. He might have gotten exactly what he wanted out of the imagery anyway. It doesn't have to stay up. In fact, I could easily see him. Hear me out. If this is real, buying the land, doing all the demo, and leaving the debris there and say, I will be taking it off. But in the interim, having the toilet built, brought in, do a whole media expose about it just to get the views and then raise it again and throw everything out and leave the land vacant. I can see him doing that. I can. Just to stay in line with the state, but now he still has property and now he's the winner, not Umar. Umar's in a tough spot, y'all. He is. Now, if he was grifting and he was using the land that he got as a collateral piece to keep the grift going, he's now in danger of losing that grift. Scenario 2, if he was back on it because he doesn't know how to handle business or land and he let something lapse, but he genuinely does want to do the school, then he has to take somebody's offer up in order to get the school going, whether that be partial or whole. He still has the school going. He could keep the elementary out of the way, depending on which building passes inspection more. Or 3, he doesn't take any of them and everything lapses and he loses all credibility as an influencer and person that's pro-Black. Whew. Man, Umar, listen, buddy. Here's our deal. Here's our deal. Okay, Umar, please listen to us carefully. Listen. We're not quite sure about the whole paying you to come talk, but here's out. I would say this to you. We're kind of empathetic in this regard. We see the plight of Black America. We do. We see the inability to seemingly get one's footing, not because necessarily of anybody else. A lot of it is on us. We get that. But we do see the need. We do see that you are trying, if it is genuine, to do something positive. And we do see that your hope is to try and reverse a long line of despotism, a long line of young men and girls trying to get some self-value, and you're wanting to change that. I get that. But having conversation with us about it to see maybe, just maybe, the options out there might be more than just Marquette's options. Maybe there might be other people that want to do the same thing without having to take one of the buildings. Leave you in complete control of everything. You still get to do your school. You can still take your donation. There might be somebody out there. And you get to combat people like this one. So it's a win-win. However, that is entirely up to you. We just believe that if you are really about the school, then we will see only real one option happen. You'll take Marquette on his offer. It's the fastest one you got. That way you get the middle school and the college or whatever you want to do, and you get them at their formative. You may not get them at their formative years, but you get them in probably their most volatile years. You see, maybe at the age of like kindergarten to like first, third, fifth grade, maybe you might lose them in terms of the education. But it was about that time frame that they might start getting into more problematic behavior, and you would have them to change that about them. This would be the way to go, man. Just saying. Options are there for you. We're looking to see what you'll do. As for anybody who agrees with this guy on the screen, something wrong with y'all. This man crazy. Not just crazy, but if he really believes what he's saying, he a racist. Straight up, unequivocal racist. We do want to see the benefit of Black America happen. We do. Whether that be from Umar's school or someone else's, we want to see them uplifted to the point where they think critically about things and not engage in detrimental behavior to the future. We love that. But this depends on Umar now. The ball's in his court. He has two offers on the table: one, to let the school collapse and let the devil take it over, or one, to sacrifice one of the buildings but still keep your school and your dignity, mostly in part, or you just disappear. Choice is his. Whatever your thoughts are on this one. Look, we clown on the guy a lot. Okay, we have. But in this, I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of feels bad. I guess there's a part of me that feels bad for Umar, man. And this is part of me that feeling bad simply because I want to believe that his heart is in the right. I do. I want to believe it. His approach might be completely misguided. His messaging might be all the way off. But I hope that his heart's in the right place. And I feel kind of bad that he can't do something that he's so passionate about, especially to the benefit of Black America. I do. But I could be also wrong that none of this is actually what he wants to do. And it is just a whole grift. And I might be being bamboozled by his savory words and the way he has his parcel tongue, as it were. Anyway, whatever your thoughts are, please leave them below. What do you think of this guy trying to buy the school for nefarious means? And what do you think of Mr. Marquett trying to buy the school and give Umar an option? And what do you think of Umar possibly losing the whole option of having the school anyway? Now, he has talked about going somewhere else. So I don't know if he has money. If he doesn't, you can't do much moving if you don't have the funds, Umar. So it's a tough one. It's like a soap opera at this point. We'll see what happens. We look forward to reading your comments on this one. But until then, peace. We out.